The morning of December 7, 1941, broke humid and slow over Oahu. The tropical sun had barely crept over the horizon when Lieutenant John "Tex" Harris groaned, clutching his pounding head. Empty bottles littered the floor of the small barracks room he shared with his best friend, Lieutenant George "Lucky" Reynolds. Tex coughed, blinked at the light bleeding through the blinds, and muttered, "Why'd we think tequila was a good idea?" Lucky, sprawled across the cot in his boxers and undershirt, snorted, "Because you bet I couldn't drink more than you." They were both members of the 47th Pursuit Squadron stationed at WWII Field, 15 miles north of Pearl Harbor. Off-duty, wild, and barely in their 20s, Tex and Lucky had a reputation for being talented in the cockpit and reckless on the ground. Neither man knew that history was about to throw them into the cockpit one more time, without orders, without backup, and still drunk. At 7:55 a.m., a low roar trembled through the sky. Tex squinted through the slats of the barack blinds and frowned. The sky over the southeast shimmered unnaturally with movement. Then came the explosions, dull, heavy concussions that rattled their walls. Lucky shot up, eyes bloodshot, his face suddenly sober. That wasn't thunder. Moments later, a siren blared from the main base radio. A voice cut through the static. "This is not a drill. Pearl Harbor is under attack. All pilots, all units, scramble." Tex lunged for the window. Jesus Christ! Smoke was rising, black, oily smoke. The unmistakable drone of low-flying aircraft buzzed like angry hornets over the island. They saw dots in the sky, then the glint of wings banking unnaturally low. Lucky cursed. "That's no drill. That's Japanese Zeros." Most of the aircraft at Wheeler and Hickam were sitting ducks, lined up wingtip to wingtip, easy pickings for strafing runs. At WWII, Tex and Lucky's P-40 Warhawks were stationed as part of a training reserve. No officers had arrived yet to issue commands. "Do we wait for orders?" Lucky asked, shirtless, strapping on boots with trembling fingers. Tex's jaw clenched. "We don't wait. We fly." They roared out of the barracks and into Tex's beat-up Ford. Lucky navigated while Tex drove like a madman down back roads toward WWII's auxiliary airstrip. When they arrived, mechanics were hiding in trenches. The planes were idle. Lucky pointed. "We fuel. We arm. We go. No permission. No backup. Just instinct." They pre-flighted the aircraft in minutes. Bombs thundered in the distance. The sky over Pearl turned a shade of bruised gray. Tex loaded his twin .50 calibers. Lucky adjusted his gun sights manually, breath shallow. "I'm still half drunk," Lucky admitted. Tex grinned grimly. "Then you'll die with a buzz. Let's give them hell." They took off without a tower signal, an act that could have landed them court-martialed. But no one was watching rules anymore. The moment they climbed above the tree line, they were in it. 6 Japanese Zeros broke formation to engage them. Tex's heart raced. He dipped, rolled, then pulled hard right. Tracer rounds zipped past his canopy like red-hot needles. Lucky stayed tight on his wing, already firing. Tex's first kill came as instinct. He saw a Zero banking left, exposed, and squeezed the trigger. The plane erupted in flames, spiraling downward. It was the first enemy aircraft he had ever downed in real combat. Lucky whooped through the radio. "1 for you." Tex snarled. 3 on your 6. Brake hard." The dogfight became chaos. Explosions bloomed across the harbor. Battleships burned. Bodies fell from the sky in parachutes, and some without them. Tex and Lucky didn't think. They reacted. Another Zero clipped Tex's wing. Alarms screamed. He grit his teeth, ignored the flashing warnings. Below, the USS Arizona exploded, sending a column of fire and metal 100 feet in the air. Lucky screamed, "We can't stop all of them." Tex responded, "We stop as many as we can." Tex's fuel was low. He was bleeding from a cut on his forehead. Lucky's plane had taken rounds through the tail. But one last Zero was heading for a dive run on a supply depot near the edge of the harbor, a depot holding munitions that, if ignited, could flatten the northern edge of the base. "We can't let him dive," Tex said. Lucky was closer. "I'll take him," Tex shouted, "Lucky, your tail's gonna fall off." But Lucky had already pulled hard into a climb. The Zero twisted, trying to shake him, but Lucky stayed locked. With one long burst, Lucky shredded the enemy fighter. Fire engulfed the cockpit. The Zero spiraled and slammed into the water just yards from the depot. Lucky's plane wobbled. Smoke trailed from his fuselage. "Lucky, bail. I can't eject. Controls jammed." Tex watched in horror as Lucky's Warhawk descended, trying to level, but his engine stalled. Then, impact. Lucky's plane skidded into a grassy field and erupted in a ball of smoke. Tex screamed into the radio, "Lucky!" Silence. Hours later, Tex sat on a stretcher, bloodied, face blackened with soot. The Japanese had pulled out. The damage